Hello everyone, welcome to my Friday. It was supposed to be a very quiet, nice Friday. I didn't have a lot scheduled in terms of things to do. So in the morning I always have a call with one of my best friends, and then after that my cleaner comes over, and during that time I'm doing my admin work and whatever I need to do on my computer. So that's kind of like a quiet working time. And after that, today I had an electrician scheduled. I'm in the middle of taking care of different jobs in the house. So the first thing obviously I did was to paint the whole house. Then I had a handyman come in at some point and just check different things in the house and fix, bits and pieces here and there. And then I booked the bathroom to be done. So that's happening in May. Well, that was a rude interruption. Not really. Cheers. That was just one of my friends calling. So, where were we? Oh yes, electrician. So yeah, the electrician was one of the people that I had to get in the house and organize some lamps fixed and light fixtures replaced, and and the new cooktop. I finally have a new cooktop. I've been sort of hiding my cooktop, so whenever I would be doing something in the kitchen, or when I was making my cooking what I eat in a day video, I literally would do my best to kind of not show you too much of my cooktop, because it was so kind of crappy and old, and two of the circles were actually burned, so I could only use two of them. So now I have a brand new, completely new cooktop, and so that's amazing. So now, yeah, the next thing is the bathroom, and then I also need to still get that mold inspection done. I just want to check just in case, do I have mold in the house or not, before I change the carpets. So that's the that's the next thing. It's turning into quite a project. But it's really satisfying, like each step of doing things and improving things in the house. So that's gonna be the next step: mold inspection, new carpets, new bathroom in May, and then the last step will be to change the cabinet doors in the kitchen. So all my cabinets in the kitchen, they're amazing. Like, there's so much space in the kitchen. It's wonderful. I love it. But some of the hinges are pretty worn out, so I'm considering just replacing all of the doors and the hinges. So I just want to get a quote, see how much that's gonna cost me, and also see if I can get that done. Yeah, and then I think that will be it in terms of fixing up the house and making it all look better and prettier and much more functional. I've got some stories for you, because things have been getting a little hectic and a little crazy in my life lately. So let's talk about Italy, because I got a little bit of confusion going on there. First of all, I am taking my lessons, Italian lessons, and I have a teacher who is an Italian and he lives in Italy, which is amazing. And so I had a lesson with him on Wednesday night. So we're talking and he's getting me to express these different things in Italian, and at some point we're talking about the things that I'm looking forward to in Italy, and I mentioned the food, and he kind of started to complain about Italy. He basically goes, "Oh, people think that food is just so amazing in Italy, but it's really not. It's pretty bland. Like, have you tasted Mexican food? Like, that's really good food, or people think that the weather and the climate is so great in Italy, but that's not true. Like, we have winter for 6 months and then it just rains a lot, so really weather isn't that fantastic, and people really aren't that friendly. Like, everybody says Italians are friendly, and they're really not, especially in big cities. Like, Italians really aren't that friendly." And I'm listening to him and I'm just thinking, no, don't do this. Like, don't ruin Italy for me. Like you can't. Has been my dream. This is like what I want to do next year. And now you're telling me about all these things that you don't like about Italy. I didn't say that to him. I kind of figured I needed to process that in my head. But that night, Wednesday night, I went to sleep really confused. Literally, up to that point, I felt like I had clarity. This is what I'm doing. I'm going to Europe. I'm going to Italy. That's my next move. Early next year. That's the plan. I mean, I'm taking Italian lessons. I'm planning, that big shift in my life. And now I'm hearing this. So what followed was all sorts of different doubts and concerns along the lines of like, what am I doing with my life? Where do I actually belong? Like, why do I even wanna go to Italy? I don't feel like I belong anywhere, and that's the big problem. I never felt like I belonged anywhere. I just kind of move from place to place, and I do my best to enjoy, to kind of create a new home in this new environment. But there isn't a sense of I belong somewhere, so I should be somewhere. There isn't that. There's just a yearning to belong without actually knowing where that belonging is. But then I woke up the next morning thinking, well, I really need to sort of remember my priorities. Because when it comes to this move, it really wasn't about Italy from the beginning. It was much more about Europe. It was about going back to Europe, being close to my family, and sort of picking a country where I felt like I could be potentially the happiest, or that I was most intrigued by, or the most keen and happy to explore. So it was never really about Italy to start with. I just figured from all these countries, especially the ones that are in southern Europe, so the weather would be better, like where could I be? And that's when, Italy came to mind, and that's why I picked Italy as my next destination. So I definitely still want to go, but at this stage I'm wondering if maybe I should go there first for like a month and just explore and just spend some time in Tuscany, like live there for a month before I shift my entire life over there without fully knowing what I'm getting myself into. Because I've never really spent much time in Italy. Like I literally just went there, drove from south of France to Italy for lunch once with my ex-partner. We had lunch, we sat down, it was lovely, and then we drove back to south of France. So that's like my experience of Italy. And then yesterday something really confusing happened, like as in something more things actually. Oh my god, now that I think about it. A few really weird, strange, confusing things happened. So, first of all, in the morning, I was working from home as I usually do, and suddenly I just hear this screaming. This man is screaming at the top of his lungs, serious rage. So, my first thought is, well, maybe some neighbors are having an argument, like maybe a couple are arguing. The level of rage was such that I literally thought it's just a lover's argument. They are causing each other such despair that this is causing this kind of argument. And so first I thought, okay, well, not really my business. But then the screaming continued, so I actually moved closer to the window to kind of see if I could see anything, but I couldn't. Until I saw these men, painters, walking out of one of my neighbor's houses, and then the neighbor, the man who lives there, he ran after them and he started throwing their tools, their buckets with paint and their rollers across the street in my direction. The white paint is just going everywhere, like the street is covered in splashes of white paint now, including my grass, my front lawn. So when I saw that, I figured, okay, well, now that concerns me because he's damaging my property and I need to know what's going on. Grabbed my flip-flops, thongs, and walked outside there to talk to the painters. They seemed pretty approachable and calm about the whole thing. Turned out there was also a real estate agent there, because these painters were sent to that house by the landlord to paint inside. The tenant went into rage and started throwing it, yelling and throwing them out and throwing their stuff out. So I had a quick chat with them because I was completely shocked. I've never seen a behavior like this. This was so confusing to see somebody and hear somebody who was so overtaken by such negative emotions. But that's not where things ended, because then after that I had a client. So I had a session with a client on Zoom soon after that, and that was a The most baffling session I probably ever had, because this client felt so uncomfortable talking to me about his sex life. I pride myself on making people comfortable. Like, I feel like this is my first job, is to make sure that my clients feel accepted, trusting, open, like they are in a safe space and they can share anything they want to share about their relationships, intimate life, sex life, etc. After all, like, I understand that when you are booking a session with a sex therapist, for most people that's a really kind of stressful, almost scary experience. So I do my best to really calm people down, make them feel comfortable, make them feel welcome and accepted and not judged in any way. But this guy, he was so visibly uncomfortable with me just gently asking him questions, doing my best to help him, that after 20 minutes of a 75-minute session, he actually logged out. Like, he just like disconnected from the session, and then messaged me to say that he just felt so uncomfortable to discuss any of that he just couldn't do it. I mean, I get it, no problem, I understand, but I've worked with thousands of clients and I've never witnessed a reaction like this one. So again, the anxiety that drove him to disconnect from the call went to a certain extreme that I haven't actually witnessed before. So that was quite bizarre. So I wonder, if it is kind of a more like a global thing with emotions just running high right now. I mean, we're not anywhere near the full moon at the moment, but still, maybe just the pandemic dragging out so long and people still having to wear masks or have restrictions in their lives and not fully being free to live their lives the way they want to. Maybe that's kind of pushing people beyond a certain age to these emotional states where they just can't handle or struggle to handle it. Let me know what you think and if you've been noticing any of that, because I am just a bit concerned about what's happening to people around us. And then in the evening, about 5 or 6 o'clock, Rosie, my cat, was sitting at the front door. I only had the fly screen closed so she could see outside. And she really looked like she wanted to go out. She was, in that kind of ready pose, ready to walk outside. So I thought, okay, well, she wants to leave. She wants to go for a wander. So I opened the door for her and she ran out, just a few steps, ran out to my front lawn. And I'm kind of like looking curiously at what she's going for, because she's usually not that purposeful. She just goes around for a wander, but she really ran towards something quite specific. So I'm looking at that, and it's a snake. Like, it's a freaking snake in front of my house on my grass. Ah, God, it was a scary moment. After 13 years in Australia, I'm still not versed in snakes enough to know exactly and to recognize them. But my instinct was immediately that this is a venomous snake and that it's very, very dangerous. And when I described it later to my friend, he actually confirmed that it wouldn't be a python, it would be one of those venomous and dangerous snakes. So when I saw that, and I saw Rosie just kind of walking towards the snake, just curiously looking, what is this thing? Well, I'm freaking out. I started screaming. I'm literally like looking at her screaming, no, no, no! I'm thinking I don't have time to run inside for a broom, to grab a broom. So I just kept screaming, because I wanted to stop Rosie. I wanted to scare the snake away. And I did actually succeed. So Rosie stopped because she's like looking back at me like, what the fuck are you screaming about? The snake got scared or just decided to like shuffle away, which was awesome, because at that point I could come closer. I grabbed Rosie and I brought her back inside and closed the door, and I just thought, she's not going outside tonight. Like, that's it. And an interesting thing about that experience and that story is that it kind of felt like a sign. It kind of felt like the universe saying, okay, well, so you're confused about Italy and you're confused where you belong and whether you should stay or go. Well, so here's a snake. Do you still want to stay in Australia? Well, that's how I read it anyway. It just felt like the universe kind of giving me a little bit of a prompt. Yeah, time to move on. Board that plane, get out of Australia as planned. So here is the bush turkey. I love it how comfortable he's around me at this stage. I actually started feeding my bush turkey. And every day, because I don't domesticate a wild bird, but I started like every few days bringing a bit of seeds out to the little hole that the turkey created for himself or herself, I'm not sure. And so now when I walk outside, the bush turkey doesn't run away, just kind of looks carefully, keeps its distance, but it's like waiting, for something good to happen.